It was a seemingly ordinary Monday afternoon at Toronto Pearson International Airport. The airport was bustling with activity, as travelers hurried to their gates, families bid emotional farewells, and airport staff went about their duties with practiced efficiency. The atmosphere was a mix of excitement and routine, a typical day at one of Canada's busiest airports. Passengers aboard Delta Airlines Flight 500-something, operated by Endeavour Air, settled into their seats. They stowed their carry-ons, adjusted their seatbelts, and prepared for the journey ahead. Some were engrossed in their books or electronic devices, while others chatted with their seatmates or gazed out the window, watching the ground crew prepare the aircraft for departure. They anticipated a routine flight. The flight attendants conducted their safety demonstrations, and the captain's voice came over the intercom, welcoming everyone on board and providing details about the flight path and expected weather conditions. Everything seemed perfectly normal. They had no idea of the harrowing experience that awaited them. As the plane taxied to the runway, there was a sense of calm and expectation. Little did they know their lives were about to be turned upside down, quite literally. As the Bombardier CRJ-900 touched down on Canadian soil, something went terribly wrong. The landing, which should have been smooth and uneventful, quickly turned into a nightmare. The aircraft jolted violently, and passengers were thrown against their seatbelts. The aircraft, instead of gracefully gliding to a halt, skidded off the runway. The wheels lost traction and the plane began to veer uncontrollably. Panic spread through the cabin as the realization of the impending disaster set in. It careened wildly, leaving a trail of fear and confusion in its wake. The passengers could feel the plane's desperate struggle to regain control, but it was too late. The aircraft was at the mercy of the elements and the unforgiving terrain. The plane, as if possessed by an unseen force, flipped onto its back. The world turned upside down for those inside, and the once orderly cabin was now a scene of utter chaos. Luggage and personal items were strewn everywhere, and the cries of frightened passengers filled the air. The cabin, once a haven of anticipation, transformed into a scene of chaos. The overhead compartments had burst open, spilling their contents into the aisles. Oxygen masks dangled uselessly, and the emergency lights cast an eerie glow over the disarray. Passengers clung to their seats, their hearts pounding in unison with the screeching metal. The sound of the plane's structure straining under the stress was deafening, and the fear in the cabin was palpable. Each second felt like an eternity as they braced for the worst. The force of the impact reverberated through their bones, a stark reminder of their vulnerability. The jolt was so intense that it knocked the breath out of many, leaving them gasping for air. The realization that they had survived the initial crash was quickly overshadowed by the fear of what might come next. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The chaos and noise faded into the background, replaced by a surreal silence. It was as if the world had paused to take a breath, giving the passengers a brief respite from the terror. The world outside the shattered windows was a blur of white snow and flashing emergency lights. The stark contrast between the serene snow and the frantic activity of the emergency responders created a surreal scene. The passengers could see the first responders rushing towards the wreckage, their faces determined and focused. The air inside the cabin crackled with tension and the smell of jet fuel. The acrid scent filled their nostrils, a constant reminder of the danger they were still in. The tension was almost tangible, as everyone waited for the next development. Passengers and crew alike were left disoriented, their senses reeling from the sudden shift from normalcy to sheer terror. The shock of the crash had left them dazed, and it took a moment for them to gather their wits and assess their situation. The crew, trained for such emergencies, began to take charge, guiding the passengers toward safety. Amidst the chaos, a collective prayer rose from the wreckage, a desperate plea for survival. The passengers, many of whom had never met before, found solace in each other's presence. Their shared ordeal had created an unspoken bond, and together, they faced the uncertain future with a glimmer of hope. News of the crash spread like wildfire. Across the bustling airport terminal, a collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Anxious faces peered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, their gazes drawn to the spectacle of twisted metal and flashing lights on the distant runway. Travelers, their itineraries momentarily forgotten, watched in disbelief as emergency vehicles raced towards the scene. Families waiting eagerly for the arrival of loved ones gripped their phones, their hearts sinking with each unanswered call. The hum of worried whispers filled the air, punctuated by the staccato bursts of breaking news alerts. The fragility of life, usually an abstract thought, was on full display, a sobering reminder of the unpredictable nature of the world. Amidst the uncertainty, a glimmer of hope emerged. Initial reports indicated that miraculously, there were survivors. Passengers, some bloodied and bruised, were being pulled from the wreckage by courageous first responders. The sight of those fortunate souls, alive and relatively unscathed, provided a much-needed beacon of light in the darkness. First responders, their training kicking in, transformed chaos into order. In the midst of the wreckage, their actions were swift and decisive, each movement a testament to their rigorous preparation and unyielding resolve. The scene was one of organized chaos, where every second counted and every action had the potential to save a life. Firefighters, paramedics, and police officers swarmed the crash site, their movements a symphony of urgency and precision. The firefighters battled the flames with hoses, their faces set in grim determination as they fought to control the inferno. Paramedics moved swiftly among the injured, their hands steady as they administered first aid and reassured the frightened passengers. Police officers worked to secure the perimeter, ensuring that the scene remained safe for the rescue operations to continue. They worked tirelessly, their every action fueled by the knowledge that lives hung in the balance. The rescue teams coordinated their efforts seamlessly, each member playing a crucial role in the operation. Medical personnel set up triage areas, assessing the severity of injuries and prioritizing care. Rescue workers used specialized equipment to reach those trapped in the wreckage, their focus unwavering despite the challenging conditions. The screech of metal being pried apart filled the air, a jarring counterpoint to the shouts of encouragement and the murmurs of medical assessments. The firefighters wielded the jaws of life with practiced skill, cutting through the twisted metal to reach those trapped inside. Paramedics worked alongside them, ready to provide immediate care as soon as the victims were freed. The scene was a cacophony of sounds, each one a reminder of the urgency and gravity of the situation. Passengers, dazed and disoriented, emerged from the mangled fuselage, blinking in the harsh glare of emergency lights. Some clung to each other for support, their faces pale and eyes wide with shock. The rescuers guided them to safety, offering words of comfort and reassurance. The survivors' relief was palpable, a stark contrast to the chaos that surrounded them. Some walked on their own, their faces etched with a mixture of relief and disbelief. They had survived a harrowing ordeal, and the reality of their situation was still sinking in. Others, too injured to walk, were carried by the paramedics, their expressions a mix of pain and gratitude. The emotional toll of the crash was evident on every face, a testament to the trauma they had endured. Others, their bodies battered and broken, were carried to safety by teams of paramedics, their moans a testament to the ordeal they had just endured. The medical teams worked with a sense of urgency, knowing that every second was critical. They provided life-saving care on the spot, stabilizing the injured before transporting them to nearby hospitals. The dedication and professionalism of the first responders were evident in every action, their commitment to saving lives unwavering. The air, thick with the smell of jet fuel and the acrid tang of smoke, crackled with the energy of hundreds of individuals working in concert, united in their mission to save lives and restore order. The scene was a flurry of activity, with emergency crews moving with purpose and determination. Firefighters continued to douse the flames while rescue workers navigated the debris to reach those still trapped. The coordination and teamwork on display were nothing short of remarkable. The scene, though chaotic, was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the unwavering dedication of those who put their lives on the line to protect others. Amidst the devastation, there was a sense of hope and solidarity. The first responders' efforts were a beacon of light in the darkness, their heroism a reminder of the strength and compassion that define us as human beings. In the face of unimaginable tragedy, they stood as a symbol of courage and selflessness, their actions a powerful testament to the best of humanity. In the immediate aftermath of the crash, Toronto Pearson International Airport, once a symbol of global interconnectedness, was transformed into a scene of controlled chaos. Emergency vehicles, their sirens wailing, converged on the site, their flashing lights casting an eerie glow on the wreckage. Firefighters, paramedics, and airport staff worked tirelessly, their coordinated efforts a testament to rigorous training and unyielding resolve. The air was thick with the acrid smell of burnt fuel and the distant hum of emergency generators, a stark contrast to the usual bustling atmosphere of the airport. 2 runways, their asphalt scarred by the wreckage, were immediately shut down, their silence a stark contrast to the usual symphony of roaring engines and clanging luggage carts. The once busy pathways, now littered with debris, stood as silent witnesses to the catastrophe. Maintenance crews clad in reflective vests meticulously combed through the wreckage, documenting every fragment and piece of evidence. The closure of these runways sent ripples through the airport's operations, affecting flights and schedules far beyond the immediate vicinity. Flights, their carefully orchestrated schedules thrown into disarray, were delayed or canceled, leaving thousands of passengers stranded. The departure boards, usually a source of excitement and anticipation, now displayed a litany of delays and cancellations. Airline staff, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of inquiries, did their best to assist passengers, many of whom were grappling with the uncertainty of their travel plans. The ripple effect of the crash extended beyond the airport, affecting connecting flights and travel itineraries across the globe. Inside the airport, anxious travelers crowded around departure boards, their faces illuminated by the flickering glow of delayed flight information. Conversations buzzed with speculation and concern as people tried to piece together what had happened. Families huddled together, comforting one another, while solo travelers anxiously checked their phones for updates. The usually orderly flow of passengers was replaced by a sense of confusion and unease, as everyone tried to navigate the unexpected disruption. The air buzzed with a mixture of frustration, resignation, and a shared sense of disbelief. Some passengers vented their frustrations at airline staff, while others sat quietly, lost in their thoughts. The airport, a place of transit and movement, had become a temporary holding ground for thousands of people, each with their own story and destination. The shared experience of the delay created an unspoken bond among the travelers, a collective understanding of the fragility of their plans. The crash, a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of air travel, served as an unwelcome disruption to the well-oiled machine of global transportation. The airport's emergency response plan, meticulously crafted for such scenarios, was put to the test. Coordination between various agencies, from local fire departments to federal aviation authorities, was crucial in managing the crisis. The incident highlighted the importance of preparedness and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the snow-covered tarmac, the true extent of the disaster became clear. The golden hues of the sunset contrasted sharply with the cold, harsh reality of the damaged runway. The airport, usually a hub of activity, was now a scene of quiet reflection. The day's events had left an indelible mark on everyone involved, from the first responders to the passengers who had witnessed the aftermath. 80 souls, each with their own story to tell, had stared death in the face and emerged, shaken but alive. Their survival was a testament to the skill and bravery of the pilots and crew who had managed to avert a greater tragedy. As they disembarked, the relief was palpable, mingled with the shock of what they had just experienced. Each survivor carried with them a newfound appreciation for life, their perspectives forever altered by the harrowing ordeal. The crash, though a tragedy averted, served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of appreciating each precious moment. Families reunited with tearful embraces, their relief evident in their expressions. Strangers who had shared the traumatic experience found solace in each other's company, forming bonds that would last a lifetime. The airport, a place of departures and arrivals, had become a poignant backdrop for stories of survival, resilience, and the enduring human spirit.